Really, you can't go wrong with this. It's so much more enjoyable than just staring at a deck of flashcards. When I post this video, it'll be the end of November, with finals week coming up right around the corner. So I wanted to share one of my favorite tips for studying, particularly studying things that require rote memorization, because that's always the worst part of studying, at least in my opinion, just having to memorize lists of names, dates, vocabulary terms, formulas, and so on and so forth. One tip that you might have heard is to use flashcards, but even going through endless flashcards can just get boring after a while. So one thing that I did for years, throughout middle school, throughout high school, throughout undergrad, one thing that I would do is I would play games with the flashcards. I would use these 3x5 index cards. I would write the question on one side and the answer on the other. And then what I would do is have a game night and invite somebody to play board games with me. Now, if you're doing this with a study group where you're all studying for the same class, it's really easy. You just set up a board game, or some other kinds of games could work too, but it has to be simple and straightforward, and it has to be turn-based. So things like chess, checkers, sorry or trouble, chutes and ladders, simple card games like Go Fish, more complicated things like, say, Monopoly, or things that aren't really turn-based don't work as well for this. In any case, you lay out the game and you just play it as normal, but in order to take your turn, you have to answer a flashcard. So if you get the question right, you take your turn, and if not, you forfeit your turn. Now, if you have an established study group and you're suggesting to them, hey, why don't we do this? I would recommend volunteering to make the flashcards yourself. For one thing, that means that there's very little that other people have to invest in it other than just showing up for the game night. But then for another thing, when you make the flashcards, the writing down of the information there can help a lot as well. I remember that sometimes just from having made the flashcard, I would remember the answers. Now, on the other hand, if you don't have an established study group, the great thing is that you can still use this strategy. You don't need to study with other people who are taking the same class, because I'll bet you have lots of friends that are taking other classes that also have final exams and that are also using flashcards. So maybe your roommate, maybe somebody else in your dorm, maybe some friends from a different class. Just find somebody else who is also studying and also using flashcards to study. You each bring your own deck of flashcards and you have to answer one of your own flashcards in order to take your turn. Or, studying with your roommate or some people from your dorm is more of a tip for college students, but if you are in middle school or high school, or maybe you're a college student but you live with your parents, ask them to help you out. Maybe incorporate it into a family game night if you have one, and don't necessarily ask siblings or parents to answer your flashcard questions in order to take their turn. But you could say, hey, I want to play, I want to participate in the family game night, but can we do it this way? And can I answer my flashcards as we go so that I don't have to take time away from studying? Or maybe you have a sibling who's studying for finals. Even if, say, they're in middle school and you're in college, or vice versa. Like I said, you don't have to use each other's flashcards. You just both bring your own deck, you both answer your flashcards. Can be a great way to spend some quality time together. I don't have any siblings, so I did not do it that way, but it could be a good idea for someone who does. I literally did this almost every year from 7th grade all the way up through sophomore or junior year of college. And I did it basically any time that I had to do any kind of memorization of facts. Now, it won't help you very much on things like an essay test, but when it comes to anything that's going to be multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, matching, things of that nature, really, you can't go wrong with this. It's so much more enjoyable than just staring at a deck of flashcards. And in my experience, the whole process of making the flashcards and playing the game with them works at least as well as just, did I get that right? Because there are stakes involved to where there is a consequence, a very small insignificant consequence, but a consequence nonetheless if your answer is wrong. In my experience, that makes me try harder to get the answer right and be more likely to remember it if I got it wrong. Now you might be wondering, who even is this girl and why should I take her advice on studying? That's a fair question if you're somebody that doesn't know me in real life. So just to give you kind of an idea of where this and other study strategies that I used got me, from the very first year that I ever got grades in school, which was 7th grade because before that I went to a Montessori school that didn't have grades, all the way up through my master's degree, which I finished just this past spring. I only ever got 2 B's, and all the rest of my grades were A's. I had a 4.0 unweighted high school GPA. I graduated summa cum laude as an undergrad, and I had a 4.0 grad school GPA. So, whether these tips work for you or not, they clearly had a benefit for me, and I figure there are other people out there that would benefit from them as well. What are your favorite study tips? Have you done anything to make studying more enjoyable or to even make it into a game? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I talk about reading, writing, classic novels, college and study tips, a whole bunch of things, and I'd love it if you decided to stick around.